So we had some unusual things in that. If you were able to survive the fighting on Bataan, the surrender of the Bataan Death March, able to survive the ship over in what they called hell ships, and now you're in the Japanese coal mine, you have to survive working in there. And surprisingly enough, it was the Japanese civilians in the coal mine that would beat the heck out of you. Yeah, if you didn't work hard enough, didn't work fast enough, or didn't bow low enough, you were beaten. So we didn't get away from it. And by the way, some of these same companies that had Americans working for them, that did not pay them, did not feed them, did not provide medical care, those same companies are now bidding on high-speed rail for the state of California. The same companies, and I claim it's blood money that they're looking. But that's only my opinion. So now we are in prison camp, and we have to survive. We survive whatever we can. But I always remember that day, August 15th. I remember the atomic bomb on August 8th, just seeing it, but I didn't know what it was. But I'll never forget August 15th. Because August 15th was the day the Japanese got us all together and said, America and Japan are now friends. Ladies and gentlemen, we always said that the war would end when four things happened. Number one, if we ever got all the rights we wanted to eat. Number two, if we didn't have to work. Number three, if we didn't have to bow to the Japanese, we knew the war would be over. And number four, if we ever got a Red Cross box. You may know what I'm talking about. They have the Red Cross issued boxes. The boxes are about 10 inches long by 6 inches wide, about 4 inches deep. In those boxes were cigarettes, sardines, candy bars, things of that nature. I know, not from experience, but I know what was in the boxes. In the 3.5 years, we never got a box. The boxes came to Japan, but the Japanese took the food out of the boxes. So we always said that. And so on August 15th, we went to work in the coal mine and they brought us right back. The first day in 3 years. At 10 o'clock in the morning, they put us all in the mess hall. And they gave every man a Red Cross box. My God. Do you have any idea what that meant? To get a box from home? At noon, they put us in the mess hall and they gave every man rice. And they asked us, you want more rice? My God, more rice. You must be kidding. So that was it. 3 things happened. No work. All the rights we wanted. A Red Cross box. The only thing left was we didn't have to bow to the Japanese guards. I learned to speak Japanese. I learned to speak Japanese because I didn't want to be beaten anymore for not understanding. So I was asked by my buddies to go out and say hello to the guard without bowing. Folks, if you saw that guard 2 blocks away, you better stop and bow or you're going to be beaten. So I went outside and I saw the man, the Japanese guard was standing right there. I walked up to him and I put my hands on my hips and I said, Konnichiwa, that's your name. And I didn't bow. And he looked at me and he bowed to me. And I knew the war was over. That's how we found out about it. You know, I have to tell you this story because it's so important to me. So what are we doing? What am I doing now? I told you about the box that I never got. We have a group out at our retirement place that for the last 5 years we've been sending 50 boxes every week to the men and women in Iraq and Afghanistan because I said I never got a box and that's not going to happen to them. We've already sent out over 12,000 boxes that have serviced over 130,000 of the troops. That's what we're doing. And we're going to continue doing it. I made the commitment to my friends that we're going to continue doing this until the war ends or our money ends. One of the two. I do have some brochures that I put down here. I made them on my computer. We don't spend a dime that we don't have to. We're a 501c3 organization with 0 employees. It's there if you have any desire when the stock market picks up a little bit. So the war ended for us. We know when it ended. We had a lot of things happen in camp, in prison camp. We never forget some of our friends. The number of friends that did not come back, we'll always remember them. Remember them, Bronji and Segoy. Saved my life. They would not let me fall when I was hit by that Japanese sword. They insisted on carrying me. Bronji and Segoy did not come home. Can you imagine how that must make me feel? But that's the way life is all about. Prison camp was not very pleasant. Fighting the war is not very pleasant. And I just have a comment I'd like to make, that the Bataan Death March was not simply an event that took place in a war a long time ago. Rather, it, like many other manifestations of injustice, was a crime against humanity. And we will never forget. I have learned to forgive. I have learned to forgive the Japanese, because hating is a disease, and I choose to forgive. That's my choice. Many of my friends will never forget. You know, on in 1955, when my book came out, the Japanese immediately passed a resolution inviting all POWs and their families to visit Japan as a guest of the Japanese. All POWs and their families, except Americans. Except Americans. They spent $16 million in their budget. All POWs except Americans. I went to my congressman, my senators, my president. How could you allow such a thing to happen? It did. In 1999, I brought a lawsuit against a Japanese company called Mitsui. The Japanese only had one witness, the United States State Department. That's all they needed. The State Department said that this treaty solved all issues, and that ended our provision. We spent 4 years fighting this, and we lost. Finally, in 2004, I believe it was, Lester Tenny versus Mitsui to the Supreme Court of the United States. And the Supreme Court ruled not to hear the case, and so there it died. It's not true. It is not true. It did not solve all issues. Article 26 of the treaty specifically states that if Japan should make another treaty better than the treaty they made with us, those betterments must apply to all. And Japan made 12 other treaties better than the one they made to us. And so all we were looking for was fair play, which we did not get. And so the fair play that did not get, starting in Bataan, December 7th or December 8th in the Philippines, we didn't get fair play then. We haven't gotten fair play then. Now, but we are here. We're here to tell you the story. And we want the American people to know what did happen. You may wonder, why have you heard some of these things? In September 3rd, right after the treaty was signed, September 3rd, the POWs were asked to sign, forced to sign a document that said we would not discuss what happened in prison camp unless we got approval from the military. That's maybe why you don't know what's going on. Because all those years we were not allowed to talk about it. My book came out 50 years after the war ended. Why 50 years? I made the decision. If they want to put me in jail, go ahead. After what I went through, another time in jail would have been too bad. So that's our story. That's the story of survival. That's the story of Bataan. That's the story of proud Americans who were unfortunate enough to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. But we all fought. We did the best we could. And we came home, those of us did. And so now we're just a few in number. For your information, out of the 12,000 men captured on Bataan, 1,200 came home. I would say there's about 35 to 40 left alive. And we're all fighting for the same thing. Last year, the ambassador to the United States, the Japanese ambassador, Fujisaki, called me and asked me to come to his home. Betty and I went to his home, and the ambassador said to me, "What is it you want? What is it you POWs want?" I said, "We want to be treated fairly. We want an apology from the Japanese." And he said, "I'll do what I can." And so he did what he could. And last year, we went to Japan at the gift of the Japanese. And that was the headline in the Japanese newspaper. Okada, Minister of Foreign Affairs, apologized for the POWs for their treatment. Let me tell you what he said. He said that we apologize for the inhumane treatment dealt out to the POWs by the Japanese military. So we did get our apology. And then the Japanese sent 7 of us, POWs, to Japan, all expenses paid, for the apology and to visit our POW camp. The State Department and the embassy asked me to lead the group last year. This year they called me and asked if I would put together another group for this year. So there's a group leaving in October, another group of POWs. It took 65 years to get the apology. It took 65 years to be treated equally. And I'm happy to announce that we are doing it today. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.